Bonjour, 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 bonjour. I think it's working now. I'm just setting everything up. Okay, I think. Does anyone know? Does anyone know where we left off last time? I honestly can't remember. I remember this. I remember talking about mods, skin mods. Oh yeah, I was talking about this joke. Yes, I remember now. Okay, right, let's get going. So, back to this now. Ha 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 ha. I was getting really down watching these videos because I think this video is really good, but since making my most recent video, I actually feel a lot better. I feel like my most recent video is really good. So I am out of my funk. I didn't like the Mario Maker video, and I thought that was really sad that I was working on stuff I didn't like. But I think I've cracked it now. I think I know how to make a video that I like. So that's good. So just the right amount of pepper. Okay, so we're ready to go? Let's go. Look at that cabbage in the background. Not that that means anything. Go.
Worthless without it. Why is it up to me to fix this? It's 2018 and I didn't pay $60 to do this myself.
I mean, I didn't pay anything because I got the game for... Look at the terrible audio balancing of that. This was made before I knew how to limit and normalize audio. So what I would do is I wouldn't even use... Yes, this is terrifying. Look at my eyes; they're all red. That's probably fucking half asleep. I didn't know how to do that. So the way I made the audio for these videos, which is hilarious because this has 4 million views, all I would do is just turn on the Windows voice recorder program, which I can just open right now. Voice recorder. I'd open this up. This is it. Press record. And I would speak, and I did the whole, the Fallout 4 VR video, all the subsequent videos. Well, basically every review I did, I just recorded like this, and then I would have the audio, put it into the timeline, and then use that. So I did absolutely nothing. But now I limit my audio and normalize it, so the quality isn't that bad. But there we go. So that was how I did it. So that's why it's sort of breaking a lot. Like here, I think it will probably break when I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Worthless without it. Why is it up to me to fix this? It's 2018 and I didn't pay $60 to do this myself.
I mean, I didn't pay... That's not so bad. It's okay. Anything, because I got the game for free. Fuck! You know that it would be Although that was so quiet, that scene. This is so loud.
You know that I would be a liar.
These two change the entire game. They add light sources and more detailed shadows to the game, so may affect performance, but this time it's worth it. Just look how much better the game looks with them.
Now this was actually a point of contention. I posted this on my Twitter and people had different views about which looked better. Let's go between them. So this is very common of a Bethesda game. Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas and Skyrim are very much like this, whereas at night you can still see everything. You know, it's basically day. I mean, it's not daylight, but you know, there's no issue seeing anything. And then when you put the mods on, the areas where there are no lights become pitch black, and you can't go there. And I think this is a really nice addition to games like this. So you have to have you have to use a torch. You have to use you notice the lit areas. I think it really does make a difference. And I think, I've said this in the past, this is all you need. A few lighting mods, a couple textures on the faces, and I think Skyrim's fine. I don't understand all of the... I like carrying a torch though, Nothos. I think it's great. It adds a bit more difficulty to the game. It's like in The Witcher where you have to take a potion, which I mean you can in this game, but you wouldn't, you know, cat vision has no use in this game because everything's already bright. It's very strange.
Them. And what it means is, in many areas, you have to carry a torch, because contrary to Bethesda's view of the world, you can't fucking see at night. Using these mods and coming back to the game...
Look at it! It's fucking daylight.
Without them is so weird, because you find dungeons that have laid untouched for centuries, but they're as bright as a shitty Will Smith movie.
References. Fucking, that's going to age well, that joke, isn't it? I think it already has aged badly. Although I very much liked that idea of... Because they're orcs, aren't they? And I put an orc's face over it. That joke works really well. I don't know if I intended on doing that when I wrote the joke, putting a face over. But anyway.
So this mod forces you to trade off between being able to see or being able to fight with both hands. It adds variety to the game that makes sense in the context of the world, and as a result makes the game so much more immersive. It's honestly unbelievable.
One thing I really wanted to do was throw the torch, so throw the remote down there. But obviously, I would have to throw the remote out a window or something for that to actually work, because otherwise it would just land on the floor in front of me. But I actually spent a long time thinking, is there a way I could throw the remote down there? And I came to the conclusion, no, Matt, there isn't. Don't even try. Speaking of which control scheme do you use? I'm not sure. The control scheme I'm using here is where I have you hover your finger over the touchpad and then you move in the direction where you put your finger. I think you can make it so you have to press a button on the touchpad to go forward, but I just hover around. I find that works quite well for me.
Exploring dungeons becomes precarious.
This joke coming up here. This was really hard to do.
Anything could be around any corner, ready to jump out and surprise you.
Assorted books.
It meant
I'm gonna try and remember the story behind this joke. So
exploring dungeons becomes precarious. Anything could be around any corner, ready to jump out and surprise you.
Assorted books.
That was so hard to do. That's where you get to a stage with a joke and you're like, this joke does not work. This one did not work for me. I had to re-edit it and reproduce it and remake it. And getting him to this fucking place was hard enough as it is. So what I would have, you can't do this in VR because. And again, I'm not moaning. This is a fun story. I am enjoying reminiscing. I'm not moaning. What I did was you can't spawn people in VR in this game very easily, because basically to use the console, which is where you have like a little box opens here and you type in the commands. When you try and do it in VR, you can't really click on anything in the world. So say I wanted to click on there's nothing on the screen at the minute, but say there was a person standing here. You can't just click on them because obviously it's in VR. So I'd have to load Skyrim in non-VR, put that guy in the place I need him, then turn off his AI so that he doesn't move, and then load up Skyrim VR. And as Skyrim VR is loading, turn off the AI, the global AI, as the game is loading, so that when it loads, he doesn't run off, because that's his first. He wants to walk back to Winterfell, not Winterfell, you know where it is. So then you've done that, and then so he's not going to move. And then what I had to do was walk along.
Exploring.
I'm trying to remember how I did this.
Dungeons becomes precarious.
So he's here right now.
Anything could be around any corner, ready to jump out and surprise you.
But as you can see, it was too dark to see him. So I had to do a jump cut. Here, this is a jump cut. Boom. No. How did I do this? I think this isn't a jump cut. I don't believe, because my hand hasn't moved at all. I think what I did was I had the left hand unequipped. And then I pressed the equip button on the torch, so the room lit up as I turned and he appeared. I think that was how I did it, because I didn't want to walk through here with the light on, because it would have ruined like the mystique if I had the torch in my hand. So I had the torch equipped but not actually active, and then I pressed the trigger button as I turned. So I turn, and as soon as I see him, I lift my hands up at the exact right moment and then equip the torch just as I turn. So that was how I did that. And I know it seems really pedantic, but when I tried it with the torch, I know this is really weird that I've got so much information about this cut. I tried walking down here with the torch out, but it didn't seem right. It was like, why are you, you're talking about things surprising you. If you turn and he's there already lit up, it's not scary. But because you suddenly, bam, and he appears, you're like, ah! And then I did a zoom and then a shake. I don't know. I know I'm saying a lot, but that was, for some reason, that took me like half a day to edit that together. I just couldn't get it right. This fucking video almost killed me, I tell you. Matt, thought on the inside tracking of the Oculus S. Is that where... Sorry, I'm just occasionally answering a chat question. Is the tracking of the Oculus S where you don't need to use lighthouses to track the headset? Because I've never used a headset where you don't use lighthouses. I imagine that will be the future, where lighthouses are removed. But for now, I don't know how reliable an Oculus S is. But the Index is such a reliable headset; it almost never loses tracking. The tracking works really, really well. I don't know what it's like without. But I think eventually they'll all become so advanced that you don't need to use lighthouses and you can just play them wherever you have a computer, and that'd be very cool. Anyway, let's continue. I don't have any water. Never mind.
It meant that finding the candlelight spell in a dungeon somewhere became a substantial and exciting event, making a game more challenging.
And I think, this is the general theme of this, where I think Skyrim is a good game, but I think it has a lot of like missed opportunities, and the fact that it's never dark is an example of there's a lack of atmosphere because you never have to play around the light engine, even though there is one. Anyway.
Challenging and immersive is what makes general exploration more exciting. And that's the bulk of this game. So it's a shame I had to fix it myself, isn't it?
And the limited red. Just get. Why did I put all this fucking music? This was back when I did just not give a flying fuck about getting my videos monetized. All I wanted at this stage was to get subscribers. I pulled out every stop. I was like, I'll just make no money and live off of beans for a year and demonetize all my videos because people will be more likely to subscribe if the video has good music in it. So that was why there's music in it, and I regret it massively.
I tell you, installing the static mesh improvement mod that specifically asks you what version of the game you're playing is like appearing on an episode of fucking Jeopardy! Skyrim Special Edition, Legendary Edition, Plain Edition, Switch Edition, Watch Edition, the Audition Edition, Cheesecake Edition. But it works. It literally fucking works a treat. This mod changes so much within the game world, and it makes all the difference to giving the game a more modern feel. And it runs as smooth as butter.
That was a legitimate crash that happened when I spawned all the butter. VR doesn't like when you spawn a lot of stuff because it's already taxing your rig.
Now this leads me to the conclusion that... Come here. Closer.
I have so just interestingly, this joke as well took I remember the day that I recorded this. This took half a day as well, which is baffling me how I got this video done. The reason this took so long, this wasn't so bad. As I said before, it's very difficult to click on the characters in VR to select them and then use console commands to move them closer to you, which is what I'm doing here. I'm using the debugging command line, whatever, to move her closer to me. So that's not so bad. You can do that. It's quite difficult to click her, but it is possible. What I had a lot of trouble with was this bit. Foos! That fucking Foos is amazing. Look at her go. She clears the fucking rig. She does a backwards somersault. It's gold. That is a gold shot. And that took about 10 turns. Every time, like, she just like hit there and bounce off and roll off, or she would just go straight down. You know, sometimes they die and the Foos doesn't knock them backwards if they don't have a high enough damage ratio. She's a friendly NPC, so that doesn't automatically. They don't die when you use Foos, so you had to install those characters could die mod. You had that had to be a clone of the original character, because the original character, even though she was made an enemy using a mod, I still couldn't get her to fly away like that. She would just fall to her knees and die. So I had to do a lot to get her to fly away. Then once I'd done all that, getting her to go up was quite difficult because she kept falling down, hitting the rocks, and this was superb, beautiful. Again, not complaining. It's just very funny to think the amount of work that this took. And I think just doing this bit was quite simple though, because this is recorded in non-VR. Is that even her? Is that a man? No, it must be her. Sorry, Lydia. What I would have done here is just like position, because I'm not using console commands. It's a lot not in VR. It's a lot easier. I'm not actually sure how I did this. I think what I did was just load the game in non-VR and then foos it off like this, and then just keep moving the camera. So I would have paused the game, moved the camera, unfroze the game, got that shot, and then I would have just gone down and do the next cut. I think I just foosed her off actually. And there's the dragon. So yeah, it's very gracious, this.
But Bethesda didn't actually change much of anything about this game. I mean, obviously they added interactive menus and of course the 3D weapon support. I'm so immersed. But I've managed to get Zelda the Wind Waker working in VR, which was originally made over a decade ago for the Cube game. And that worked.
I stole that from Bob H. Bomber Guy. Oh, that's such a fucking stolen joke. Let me, no, there's no way I'd ever be able to find it because it's in such a long video, but I know exactly what. That's such a fucking blatant steal. I can't believe that. So, H. Bomber Guy has a video where he reviews Sherlock. It's like a 3-hour video, and it was one of the videos that convinced me to start doing video game reviews. And here's a bit where he's talking about House MD, and he says, House MD is I'll even use H Bomber Guy's voice for those who know who he is. It doesn't matter. You don't need to know who he is. But just the fact that I stole his joke. This is so embarrassing. He goes. He's talking about House because he's referring about Sherlock, and he says like, House MD is a TV show that came out in America starring Hugh Laurie instead of Hugh Laurie. And I always just thought that was a very interesting way of writing. It's a way of creating jokes without without like diverting from what you're saying. So he would say, instead of saying Hugh Laurie, he just said Huge Laurie. That's a very sort of British style of humor where you just like say something silly unexpectedly, I guess. I can't I'm not explaining this very well. What's the word where you're just basically just being purposefully facetious for no reason? And I thought that was really funny, and that was why I put cubed game in this video. Yes, you're being obtuse, that's the word. You're being purposefully obtuse. It's not a blatant steal, but it is entirely inspired by him. I just thought that was really funny. Anyway, sorry. The point I'm making now is that making Skyrim 3D, I don't think, in like VR ready, I don't think requires very much work at all. I think it probably takes a few hours, but there you go. I really do think to make Skyrim VR into, because you know how customizable the engine they use for Skyrim is. I think they just ran it through the Vive and it worked. I really don't think they did a lot and then charged 60 quid for it. But I could be, that might. I don't know, so I don't want to be a dick about it.
Originally made over a decade ago for the
Cube game.
And that worked perfectly fine.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God.
In a game where you are in the game where the sounds come from, where the sounds come from is exceptionally important. This mod fixes all of the sound issues within Skyrim, has no effect on performance, takes less than 2 seconds to download, and allows the game to compete with other similar modern games. What the fuck are these people doing? To give you an example...
I'm so mean to Bethesda. But this is all definitely true. I tested this. I loaded the game with and without the mod when playing VR, and it does really make a big difference because sounds come from behind you.
How well this mod works. Earlier I was in a dungeon, and then suddenly I heard a rumbling directly behind me, moving closer. I dived to the side as a stream of boulders rolled past me. I knew they were coming, and I knew exactly where they were. Here is the same event without the mod. Wait, what the fuck is that noise?
Ow! Ow!
As you see that ad coming up, this is now going to the shins. This is who wrote this song. I don't have a lot to say there. Didn't doing Fallout New Vegas in VR teach you otherwise? Well, the thing about that, I think the issue with Fallout New Vegas running that in VR is that the program you're using isn't designed to run Fallout New Vegas in VR. It's designed to run any game in VR. So setting it up properly, like tweaking like the field of view and the positioning and everything is quite a difficult thing to do, and that does require a lot of work. You have to get all the settings and the sizes and the distances and the rendering all correct. And that program I used was just designed to basically just use a default standard to every game, so it just didn't work very well, and you had to sort of twiddle with it, and I'm really bad at doing that. So that was kind of the result of that. So maybe you are right. I guess actually it probably requires a lot of work to get the scale right, get the motion tracking right. So maybe I'm being a bit too hard on them. That does remind me of that. Vorp X, that's right. So maybe, I don't know. I really enjoy this scene. How long have we been going? I need to keep an eye on time. How long have I been streaming for? I have no idea. Does anyone know? How far shall I go to? Because of my program's not working, I don't have a counter. Let's go to 6 minutes. How about that? I think we've been doing it for about 20 minutes. I think we've got another... We're going very slowly through this video. So anyway, I'd like to make a video about the point I'm about to make with this, where I happen to think bad graphics can be better than good graphics. Oh, that'll make people angry. I have this very, very strong opinion that graphics nowadays are too good and can result in making a game worse. Yeah, I'm going to make a whole video about it. I came up with it last night. which people are gonna fucking kill me. I don't necessarily mean, I mean simple graphics. Yeah, I'll explain what I mean since I brought it up. The summary of the video will be when graphics used to not be perfectly good. You had to use your imagination to sort of fill in the blanks, and your imagination can always create like a better version of something than what you actually see. You know, it's like how like horror games, if you don't know what's beyond the door because you haven't seen it yet, you've only heard it, and you've imagined, what you're imagining is much worse than what's actually going to be behind the door. You know, even if a xenomorph jumps out, you know, it's like, it's a xenomorph. But in your head, you're like, oh my God, there's something really scary behind that. And that's much scarier than actually seeing it. And I feel like bad graphics or simple graphics have a similar sort of, you have to fill in the gaps in the visuals. And I always end up being a lot more inspired by that. That's why I like FTL and Undertale so much, because the grandness of the story and the gameplay is half imagined by you. And that's part of what gaming always was. You know, it's like board games and you imagined the game. And that always was really fun. And also, and because the graphics didn't require as much work, you could actually focus on making a game better. So I'm really excited. I'm going to do a whole video about that. Talk about Undertale, talk about SNES, talk about FTL. All of my it's just all my favorite games. Generally, the graphics aren't that good, except for The Witcher 3, obviously. Stealing from Yahtzee, yes, that is exactly. You've got my exact reference. The reference is there. There are 3 types of horror. One where someone's in a closet about to go a bloogie woogie woo, or such and such and such. Or the third where someone's at the end of a highly lit corridor walking towards you, going a bloogie bloogie woo as they walk towards you. Something like that. I stole all that from Yahtzee. That's from his Dead Space review, I think, if you want to see it. It's very good. Sorry, my phone is going off. It's my friends who've all got personal issues. Right. Play.
Ever since I could use a keyboard, and from a very young age, due to what can only be described as very poor parenting, somehow got my hands on PC copies of Dungeon Keeper, Legacy of Kain Blood Omen,
rupturing organs till the pressure inside bursts the sack of fleshy skin, spraying its...
and 8.
I played this game mostly all the way through when I must have been about 13. And it's fucking horrible, man. Like, there's one scene where I couldn't find it. There was actually a scene that I wanted to use. I spent a long time actually looking through Let's Plays of this to find it. But there's a scene where you find a girl in a castle, and she's been like tied to a wall. Her eyes have been sewn shut. She's like barely recognizable because she's been like whipped so much. And I was like, and I found that when I was like 13 playing a game. I used to play this at night. I was like, so, you know, we all turned out all right, didn't we? It's fucking horrible. I'd say this game is absolutely fantastic, but it's just not scared to be really grim. And again, the graphics are really simple. You don't see the girl. It's just a female model. You know, you don't see any of this horrible stuff. I don't know what the audio that he's saying at the minute is not actually happening during this scene. I found it somewhere else and overlaid it to this scene. But anyway. So yeah, what have I got? I had this game, Abe's Odyssey. Abe's Odyssey isn't so bad.
and Abe's Odyssey.
Oh, never mind.
Say the level of violence on video games.
Which generally reveals how I matured to be such a...
That was a very bold statement about Trump. That's how you complain about Trump without being too outward about it. Just be like, he's complaining about something he doesn't understand and he's using bad language to explain it. God, that showed him, didn't it, man? I know how to burn Trump. So what causes the mannequin sadism? Mannequin sadism. The mannequin is because I'm sure you probably realize I have the mannequin just because it's very good for. It's just whenever I talk about VR, I end up talking about limbs so much. I just couldn't do everything I wanted to without an extra pair of limbs. So I bought a mannequin. I doubt I'm going to use the mannequin anymore. I've said that in the past, but I'm really planning on getting away from it. I might try and use it like once in the Alien Isolation video.
Well-rounded person. Fuck you. I am God! You see, when you're very young, you have this innate ability to put yourself into a video game and experience it at a very personal level.
I really don't think I should be here.
And as you get older, you tend to lose this a little, and it kind of gets more difficult to experience games in the same way. Most VR games are really immersive, but none have managed to properly capture the sense of wonder you get from being part of a vast, expanding world you can get lost in. Skyrim so closely emulates the style of these older games that I loved.
Oh, this took ages. So yeah, I'm just talking about how Skyrim has an old PC gamey sort of feel, and that really appeals to me. Yeah, setting this up was a nightmare. I just remember just finding it really difficult to get all of this working correctly. But, you know, nothing really to say here. It's just special armor that I've equipped and had him stand there.
These older games that I loved, and I have found playing it in VR immediately gives me that sense of wonder and excitement of being lost in a fantasy world.
I guess that's not so bad. I don't know why I had trouble with that. I think the reason I had trouble with this, I think I'm recording this in VR, which I really shouldn't be doing. I think that's what... I've just got this mental-ish image of this being really difficult, and it's because I'm recording in VR. Why the hell am I doing that? How am I even moving the camera?
Lost in a immediately gives me that sense of wonder and excitement of being lost in a...
I think I'm moving to the right while wearing the headset, and this is not me. This is a character that I've spawned. And I think I'm doing this in VR and like sidestepping. And turning my head to look at him as I turn. I don't know why I did that. Fuck me. No wonder this took so long to do. This is VR footage.
World.
What am I doing?
Of being lost in a fantasy world.
Jesus Christ, Matt. I'm fairly certain it's because that wouldn't be there if it was. You can see the health bar. I think I recorded this in VR, which is why this was quite tricky to film. I knew that I was doing something wrong. I will have added stabilization in post to make it more steady. God, I was such a fucking psycho.
World. It makes me feel like a kid again, and it's fucking glorious. There is a really fun VR game called Waltz of the Wizard with a similar aesthetic.
Get this game if you have VR, it's fucking great.
But when I tried to travel outside, I was greeted with a medieval recreation of Event Horizon. Fuck off! If you use the mods I suggested, I would say that Skyrim is probably the most beautiful video game ever made. Look, I know The Witcher thing.
Alright, I'm going to leave it there while I talk about The Witcher. I think we've done about half an hour. Oh dear. I think I still stand by that statement that Skyrim is the best looking game ever. I'm trying to find that shot.
I would say
it's in
that Skyrim is probably...
Skyrim makes me feel very happy and very safe. It has that real effect, and The Witcher is... I talk about this anyway, I say how clean it is. I'm trying to think... I still don't think I found any games that are more beautiful than Skyrim. And it all, and it all just comes down to personal preference. There are games that look better, but there aren't games that give me that same sort of feeling. Cool, I'm finished there. I hope that was all okay. I'm sorry I'm not streaming after this. It's been a very hard day. I had a minor panic attack when I deleted all of my stuff, but I've got it all back now. Before you go, when are you going to stream on your main channel next? I would like to be there to mod by all loads of it. So I'm not going to stream after this like I usually do. I would have streamed yesterday, but because I finished the video on Friday, I took 2 days off. Usually I take Fridays and Saturdays off and work on Sundays. I'm going to stream on Wednesday, probably at around 11 p.m. my time. So 11 a.m. my time in the morning. But I'll stream most of the day. So like 11 till 5. I'll be streaming most of the day. I'm just going to play VR. So I won't be as chatty with the chat as I normally am because I'll be playing Alien Isolation. So I won't be able to see what you guys are up to. But I'll just keep an eye on it on my wrist every now and again to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yep, I won't be streaming tomorrow. So 11 a.m. my time, 11 a.m. BST, I reckon would be about the time, and then I'll probably do 2 hours, eat lunch, and then maybe 3 hours. Because what I'll do is I'll just play the game as if I'm playing the game, but I'll do a stream with it, and then I'll probably do that for 2 or 3 days. What I'll probably do is stream for 1 day, and then have some time to myself and see how I feel, and then, as in stream on my own, so I can get some ideas, and then stream again on the Thursday, and then start writing the script. I don't have long to make it because it's a Halloween video, so it'll probably be another relatively shorter one. But we'll see how we get on. And that'll be fun. Horror games, it's going to be fucking horrible because it's really bad for motion sickness, that game, so it's going to be very difficult for me, but we'll see how that goes. And thank you. I'll say hi to Emma. She did great in the new video. It required a It was so funny. Those scenes where we were recording together, everything went wrong. Because what I tried to do with her was, I didn't want her to know what was going to happen, if you know what I mean. I didn't want her to know what the computer was about to say. So what happened was, and you'll see this in the deleted scenes because you're all patrons, Valentina's going to be making it, but she's very thorough, so you'll get to see everything. She'll make it like 20 minutes long, or 10 minutes, 50, because the last one she made was very long as well. So like she, particularly the bit that would stand out is where I was whispering to her, I was like, say that you hate the ship. Because she was like, what's my next line? Because she had to have a vague idea of what she needed to say. So, and she was like, and then, because that's why she wasn't looking at the screen when she was like, I hate this ship. What she actually said was, she looked at me and she was like, you want me to say I hate this ship? And then the ship said, I hate you too. So we weren't meant to be, that wasn't like part of the video. I was like, she was meant to turn and look at the screen and then go, I hate this ship. And then it goes, I hate you too. But she was like responding to me, whispering the line to her. She turned around and was like, you want me to say I hate this ship? And then it said it, so it caught it. So it was very natural, that scene. That's why her laugh looks very convincing, and why the camera woman and me are all laughing off screen. So that went really, really well. Before that, she had scripted like, what was the other thing that happened? She said, what was the other line? It was ship, would you land, please? Ship lights. That all worked fine. Those scenes were scripted. She knew what she was supposed to say. There was one more thing where I would like to remember this. Give me 1 second. Oh yeah, where she was. Yeah, she laughed. She was like, "Would this just land on the platform, please?" She had already what she had done. I said, "Okay, now you've got to say this line," and pointed, "Land on platform," and I set it off. That was why I was whispering the second time, and it was like self-destruct sequence activated, and we all laughed and thought it was really funny. But then I was like, no, I've ruined it this time, fuck, Emma, just say land on platform. So we were all still laughing, and she was like, land on platform. So she had already heard that line as well, so that was why I cut to the screen and didn't show her laughing, because she didn't laugh because we had already heard it. I didn't explain that one as well, but basically, and that was why at the end I was like, celebrate, and we all clapped, and I was like, what a fucking mess all that was. Everything I had planned didn't work. And ship's lights as well, I had to edit that out, because what kept fucking happening, and you'll see this in behind the scenes as well, is when you said ship's lights, I said like lights on, the microphone would then go, lights are now on, but the sound coming from the computer would then activate it saying it again. It heard it as lights on, so then it would go lights on, lights are now on, lights on, it would get into a loop, so it wouldn't shut up. So I had to be like, when Emma said lights on, I had to like cut to a new audio line, because the computer just started saying lights are now on, lights are now on, lights are now, because it kept activating lights on, which was the command. So that was why every single thing went wrong during that filming session. But I think it turned out better because of it. Because otherwise, I think it would have been a bit stale, because we were just reading lines, and Emma obviously is not an actress, so it didn't sound quite as convincing. So everything that you saw was actually real, of just everything fucking up. So that was good. I think things not working is the best way. Yes. So there you go. That's the end. I should probably go now. I'm going to go get some rest. I will see you soon. Bye-bye. I have to end the stream. I have to click end stream. Where's the end stream button?